Good evening. This is the November 23rd special called meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The time is 6:02 p.m. And before we get started, some of the basic ground rules. Please mute your mics while you're not talking. If you'd like to go live, please raise your hand. You can do it through either from the share of the chat or the share screen. No, not that one. The chat, you can raise your hand and I can see you, or if you just wave, I'll see you. And then that way you could talk. I guess for formality purposes, we'll start with the roll call of tonight's members that are here. I'm Edmund Haas, Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm present. Vice Chair Glenn Portman.
Present.
Commission member Sue Blankenship. Absent. Freddie Guerra.
Present.
Ed Marr.
Present.
Doug Robinson.
Present. Jim
Walker.
Present.
Okay. On the agenda, items 2 and 3, we're going to combine those together. This is the work session item and the discussion. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mary Perone Boswell, Senior Planner, to review the cases for this evening, as well as identify the staff members. Mary?
Good evening, Chairman Haas, Council, or Commissioners. The staff members present tonight are myself, Senior Planner. We have Matt Steer with Development Services, Kumar Galley, Assistant Director of Engineering, Cami McGee, Planning Secretary, and Julian Coleman with the ES. And he'll be running the show this evening. Actually, this evening, Matt Steer will be presenting the cases. So take it away, Matt.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah, I just want to first thank you guys for meeting at this special called meeting. We had a hiccup with our mailings for the surrounding property owners. So we had to delay the actual meeting 10 days after the mailing. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time this evening, meeting with us. And this will get the applicants back on track to make the December 8th City Council meeting. So this request is for 2 residential lots in Old Town. It's approximately 175 feet south of West Bethel Road on the west side of Coppell Road. What they're proposing fits in with the architecture of the area. We're really excited. Mike Adams is the architect on the project. He's the same architect, I believe, that did the project to the south for the Pences when they originally constructed theirs. They're proposing to come off of the Burnett Street and have their garages on the back side of the buildings so that the front will have a clean facade without big garage doors. So that was really important to keep the character of Coppell Road. One thing that came up, originally they were going to build one house on this property, and therefore they were demoing one house, building one house in its place. And so tree mitigation wasn't an issue. But once they decided to build 2 houses, which is actually better for the situation, tree mitigation did become an issue. So they had to go back and analyze the cost of those trees that they took out and then determine if what they were planting back met or exceeded what they took out. Turns out they were pretty good on what they had planted back. So they met the overall mitigation costs there. Let me see here. Okay. Is Mike having issues with his audio? Mike Adams? Are you still having issues?
He mentioned he couldn't hear us, so I just gave him the phone number.
Okay, cool. All right. I just got a text. Okay. So the materials they're using on these buildings, one of them's brick and one of them's hardy shake siding with stone. They're using the same stone that's found in the area, so that will be compatible. The brick is a grayish blue color I'll let the architect describe that. He assured me that it would tie in with the architecture of the area. Just a minute. Mike Adams is trying to call. I apologize. I missed that. Okay. So anyway, we're recommending approval. We've got a few drafting conditions that are in our recommendations. But I'll be happy to answer any questions. They've got a plat that goes along with it and some private easements that they're dedicating in order to make this thing happen.
Any feedback or comment from those notified within the specified distance?
Now, we didn't receive any comments in favor or opposition. So we did send out a certain number of notices, which I'll get into in my presentation.
Okay. How long has the property been scraped? When I went by there the other day, it looked like it had been a while.
Yeah, it's been since April.
Any questions of by the commission of staff? We got 22 more minutes to talk about it.
I think the only thing that I had of interest was coming in from the back parking lot. Are you going to, was that always left as the drive, or are we going to lose parking spots, and does that affect anybody in the other parts of Old Town?
So Burnett Street was intended for public use. And so I believe there were 40 spaces along Burnett Street. So you're going to lose a couple of spaces, but they've adjusted the islands, one of the islands further south, and then they're doing a mini island on the southernmost end. So they're losing as few spaces as they can off of Burnett. And plus they're doing a mutual access drive where they're sharing that curb cut. So I think it's minimal spaces lost on Burnett as we could.
Good.
Are there any issues with the context? You know, I know we've got 2-story, but we have the older historic structures on the north end. Are there any potential conflicts or anything?
Initially, I was concerned whenever they were building the one massive structure. Now they've broken it up into two. I think the two front facades will be similar in nature to the residential along Cameron Court, which is a little bit further to the east from this property, but it is on the larger lots in terms of down in Old Town. I think these are 50-foot wide lots.
Very good. Any other questions of staff? Okay. Well, we can chat about the wind for a few minutes, or we can recess and reconvene at 6:30.
Well,
Are we? Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Gotcha.
Yes.
yeah, I was
Okay,
going to
good.
suggest fixing Mike's mic.
Yeah, I tried 2 different mics and then just switched to my phone. So I was having problems with it. I don't know why. Sometimes I have, sometimes I don't. But I missed probably the first half. But basically, are you guys saying that 6:30?
Yeah. But in work session, we review the cases with staff. It's open to the public, but we don't answer questions with the public. But in the formal hearing at 6:30.
So it is at 6:30, and 6
Yes,
was just
that's
what.
correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'll get out of your way. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. All righty. If there are no other questions of staff in the work session, the pre-session, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn our work session. The time is 6:11, and the regular session will reconvene at 6:30.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, the time is 6:30, and the special called meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission is now reconvening into regular session. All members of the commission are present except for Commissioner Blankenship. Item 4 on the agenda is citizens' appearance. With the shelter in place order in effect, the regular session is closed to in-person attendance. However, if there's any letters or emails from the public that have been submitted to the Coppell Planning Division as part of this standard item on the agenda, those will now be read in the record. Mary, did we receive any comments?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. With that, I will go ahead and close the citizens' appearance. We'll move on to item 5 this evening. This is a public hearing to consider PD-304H, the Nixon Pence Residential. This is a zoning change request from H Historic to Plan Development -304 Historic to allow 2 residential units on 0.442 acres of land located on the west side of South Coppell Road, approximately 175 feet south of West Bethel Road, at the request of the property owner, ANCH, being represented by Hennessy Engineering. Matt Steer will present the staff report. Matt, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. This property is located on the west side of South Coppell Road, approximately 175 feet south of West Bethel Road. The subject property is sandwiched between Burnett Street to the west and Coppell Road to the east. And in April of this year, the lot was cleared and the existing residence on this lot was demoed. The initial plan was to build 1 residence. However, the proposal changed to what is currently being requested, 2 single-family residences. Next slide, please. One is proposed to be 3,880 square feet and one to be 4,190 square feet. They're both 2-story, 28.5 feet in height. The architect has designed this project in a manner which is consistent with the Main Street project and recently constructed house to the south. Each of the proposed residences are similar in height as the adjacent residence to the south, and they both are proposed to front on South Coppell Road. Will have the same setback from the street as the residence and patio home to the south. Private drainage and utility easement, next slide, is proposed along the common property line. Each of the residences are providing the 2 required enclosed parking spaces. Next slide. Within the garage is located on the rear of the site. Access to each of the garages is proposed via a curb cut from Burnett Street to a, next slide, to a private drive or a private mutual access easement shared by the 2 residences. They are proposing to relocate a landscape island and construct a small one on the south side. Now here, pay attention really close. The landscape island on Burnett Street, click on the next slide, goes away, and then is moved to the south, and then the mutual shared drive leads to the garages. Next slide, please. The overstory tree and shrubs for these islands, circled in blue, will need to be shown on the landscape plan, and this is listed as a condition of approval. In regards to landscaping, residential lots are not regulated in terms of landscape area, in terms of the area calculations. However, the plant materials will match those used throughout Old Town. Regarding the tree survey, it indicates that there were 94 caliper inches of trees removed. The landscape architect has worked diligently to propose enough trees on site to mitigate for this tree removal. They are proposing to plant 4 6 caliper inch, next slide. Next slide. 4 6 caliper inch cedar elms, 10 3 caliper inch magnolias, 2 6 caliper inch red oaks, and 2 6 caliper inch October glory maples. Next slide. The proposed materials for each of these residences are representative of the arts and crafts architecture. The southern residence is proposed to be primarily, next slide, grayish brick with dark gray shutters and doors and will have white accents. The northern residence is proposed to be constructed with greenish gray horizontal siding in brownstone. It will have brown and white accents. Each residence will have front and side porches, with the southernmost having a second-story balcony on the front. Staff recommends approval. Next slide. One thing I forgot to mention was we did send out 26 notices within 200 feet, 152 courtesy notices within 800 feet. We received no letters in favor or opposition of this request. And we are recommending approval subject to 5 conditions, which I'll read into the record. 1, detailed engineering review to take place with engineering permit submittal. For engineering review, submit site plan and plans for paving, grading, utilities, and erosion control. 2, submit a copy of the proposed private easements prior to plat recordation. 3, ensure the landscape island reconfiguration to accommodate the shared drive is indicated on the landscape plan as shown on the site plan, and the plant materials are labeled. Next slide. 4, ensure all plans have the same easements and the same driveway configuration off Burnett Street. And 5, label all colors and materials on each building elevation. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. The applicant, Austin Nixon and Lynn Pence, and the applicant's engineer, Pete Hennessy, Jory with Pete Hennessy Architects, or Pete Hennessy Engineering, and the architect, Mike Adams, are also available for questions. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Matt. Are there any questions of staff by the commission?
Chairman, I had just a couple of questions.
Yep, fire away.
Matt, could you go back to where you were showing the movement of the island, please? Okay, right there.
Right there.
So is that island being moved to kind of frame the private drive to discourage parking there, or?
Okay, so where it is it's go back one more slide.
It was about 4,
Okay,
yeah.
so here's the current configuration. And so what we want to do is to actually frame that drive so that we don't have people parking there. We might even put a small sign or something indicating that it is a private drive so that no one will park there.
And then the trees themselves will be planted then on the island?
Right. So next slide, Julian. Okay, so that's where there's a tree on the northern island, and then shrubs, 4 shrubs on the southernmost island, because that island's probably 4 foot in width on the southernmost.
Okay. And is that one of the red oaks on the North Island?
They're either cedar elms or red oaks. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the cedar elms I know were okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't indicated on their landscape plan. So that was one of the conditions that we had, was to go ahead and include that on their landscape plan.
And this may not be the best question, but I'll ask it regardless. So what are the caliper inches of the trees that will be added compared to the 94 caliper inches of trees that were removed? Okay,
so they do have larger trees than our minimum size. Our minimum size is 3 caliper inch, and that's typically what we get planted with new commercial construction.
Right.
But they're going up to 6 inches, which is pretty substantial when you're talking about cost and size.
Right. So it's not a question of matching the caliper inches that were taken out. It's just a question of meeting the minimum requirements for the mitigation, and they've exceeded those.
They have just met the requirements in terms of mitigation. So typically you don't have a residential landscape plan, but in this case, because they are taking out so many trees, they wanted to provide on site as many trees as they could.
Okay.
To their benefit.
Okay, thank you. That was the bulk. That was the substance of my questions.
Matt, to follow up on the parking there. So the private the space that's lost for the private drive, is that going to have any effect on any of the other parking supply for the other users? Was that a critical calculation for anything on the other side?
No, it was not. Now, when we developed Burnett Street, it was, I think it was 40 parking spaces that were just built into the old Coppell plan in general. So if, say, a residence did want to convert to an office or whatnot, we could use some of that parking to offset what they couldn't fit on their site. So this is not required for any of the users down there. This is supplemental to the district.
I do see the need to do something to delineate that it's going to be a private drive. Otherwise, if there's function down there, there's a space. They may have their driveway blocked. But,
right. Yeah. And so we'll work with them and figure out how to delineate that. But yeah, we haven't worked through that micro detail yet.
And then are those the dimensions, 26 feet and 25 feet? Are those the dimensions from the back of the, I guess, the alley to the front of the garage? Or is that to the center line of the alley?
That goes to the property line, I believe. They did supply a turning template, if that's where you're going with your question. So they can pull in and back out.
Yeah, it goes to the center of it goes to the property line.
It goes to the property. Okay. I was thinking more of overhang than anything, but okay. That's covered there. Okay. And October Glory, good selection. We have one of those trees out front, and they're beautiful trees. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Any other questions of staff by the commission?
Would it be possible to delineate that that's a private drive by painting on the drive leading into it? Is that something that, or is that not favored?
I'll let Kumar answer that, because that is a public road. So yeah, I'm not absolutely sure. This is a unique situation, so I'm not sure if Kumar, if you even have an answer to that.
One option would be maybe we can put kind of like a curb, 6-inch curb on either side of the private drive.
Oh, where the sidewalk is? Where do you mean, Tom?
They already are proposing. This is going to be a curb area right here and a curb area right here. I
was wondering if Lynn ever had any problems with anybody parking in front of her driveway, since it's kind of a
Miss Hennessy, hold on a second. Let us get through our questions of staff. We'll turn it over to the applicant, and then Oh,
okay. Sorry.
Hang on a second. That's okay. Thank you, though. Yeah. So Kumar, it sounds like as we take this thing through the process, there'll be something that's between staff and the applicant that'll work. I do see maybe some delineation, because I can see if there's a function down there, someone's going to see that nice little parking spot that won't get door dinged. So, okay. Are there any other questions of the applicant by the commission?
Yeah, this is Ed. Hey, Matt, question for you on the drive and the access easement all the way through the property. Is that, am I reading that right? It's going to go all the way through the property. Is that intended to be paved?
Okay, so right where the gray is on this, there's a 12-foot wide mutual access, and it goes. If you go back one or two slides, Julian, one more. Okay, yeah, now go forward a slide. So that gray area right there is the mutual access easement. So it does not extend all the way through. What you're seeing in yellow is a drainage, utility, and maintenance easement.
Okay, that makes sense. And then the second question, the landscaping on the proposed islands, as cars are ingressing, egressing out of there, do we expect that would cause any visibility concerns as they, move on to Burnett Street?
I want to think there is very little traffic there. So to the south, you have the other Pence's residence further to the south there. And then I believe Crockett comes in at maybe midpoint where I'm not absolutely sure where Crockett intersects there. But if you're concerned about the shrubs maybe blocking visibility, we can make sure they're dwarfs and they don't grow above a certain height.
Okay, thanks.
So just to belabor the point, so that's going to, since it's an access easement, that's going to need to be open, right? They're not going to be able to have two cars in the driveway, and because there's function going on in these private residences, park all the way down the alley into the parking lot, right?
Right. Yeah. So they won't be able to. They will have mutual access through that 12 feet. So we'll make sure that it's written in such a way where they can't block it off for the other residents. That's a private easement that the Pences and Nixon will have to draw up, present to us. We'll get it vetted through our legal staff and make sure it makes sense.
Okay. Even if it was Mommy and Daddy Pence and daughter Pence and their family, and if there's a function, can they park all the way down the alley into the parking lot, or not at all, even during a function?
They could park along South Coppell Road because that's public parking. They could park on Burnett Street.
Okay.
They could park, in all public parking. So,
okay. Thank you. Any other questions of staff by the commission? Okay, I will turn it over to Ms. Hennessy for the applicant's presentation. Is there anything you'd like to add to the presentation?
No, it was a good presentation. I don't know. If you have any questions, I can try to answer them, but.
Sure. First of all, are you in agreement with the conditions as presented by staff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Whose idea was it on the October Glory? That's a great call. The maples?
I think that's
probably the landscape architect.
It's a great tree. And ours is in full bloom now. It's just fantastic looking. So I don't have any questions of the applicant. Are there any questions by the commission of the applicant? Okay. Tough crowd tonight. Okay. I don't see this as a public hearing on my agenda. That's correct, Matt?
it is a public hearing. So you'll need to open it up.
Okay.
Public hearing.
Okay. Since as this is a public hearing, is there anybody who would like to speak for or against the proposed application? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion by the commission?
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Chairman. So are we there was some mention earlier that we were dealing with both of these in tandem. Are we taking up both the replat or the plat and the zoning change at the same time now?
That's going to be the plat's the next one.
Okay. So we're only looking at agenda item 5 right now?
The zoning change request. That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
Any discussion by the commission or a motion?
Chairman Haas, another quick question for Matt. From a material standpoint, just to confirm that you feel comfortable that it will, tie into the balance of the development.
I feel somewhat comfortable in conversations with the architect. He's assured me that the brick is compatible with the area. The brick on the southernmost structure. But yeah, I'll let him speak to that if you wish. Ed.
So,
sure.
You want me to give you a little bit of just a quick?
Yeah, Mr. Adams, if I could get you to give your name and address for the record so we have it.
My name is Mike Adams. I live at 2716 Hunters Creek Drive in Plano, Texas. I'm a architect for the Nixons and the Pensons for this job. And our goal with this job was basically to tie into the historical concept of the neighborhood. And we felt that where we sat in relationship to Coppell Road and I just went blank on the cross street, the primary cross street, that it kind of would be smart if we kind of started blending materials, because down you have brick as soon as you turn the corner onto Bethel, and I didn't want to pick a brick that was really red. So I felt like if we found a brick that was nice and gray, that it would tie nicely into the paint colors on the bricks, because how the historic district is it's better for us to have a brick that's baked that color than painted. And so I think we found something really great that they make in Albuquerque that we can put up there. And I think with the right amount of slurry, that brick is going to look fantastic. I will say that, if you look at that, make sure and look at that sample outside versus inside, because in interior light, it looks a little bit dark, but outside, it's great. So I think that's, that's what I'd say. And that I think that as soon as our mortar and everything's on there, it's really going to, tell that story of the, 1920s and even earlier happened in the United States and the arts and crafts movement. So it will really kind of help bring the corner down and create something that makes it feel continuous over to Bethel School. Is that or Bethel Road? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it definitely from a tie into the development perspective, and then having, the two residents side by side, that I guess because of the arts and crafts architecture, that you feel comfortable that they will be, they will be somewhat consistent in sort of theme with each other, or one won't look out of place with the other.
I don't think so at all. I think that it'll actually, and then also the brick's kind of tumbled, so it's really a brick that's going to sell itself well with the stone that's on the houses on both sides of it. So it's going to make the three houses look crafted together. I think that if I didn't have an element like that on there, that it might take away from the other two. So that will also help.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Adams, as I kind of look at the Google Street View, so this will be really the first structure that has the kind of the tumbled stone. I mean, true, the former structure was brick, but this is going to be the first one that's going to be, I guess, the bottom of the neighboring.
We have the stone next door on the Pence's existing.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
And that one's, and that's a slightly, that's a lighter stone than the stone that was called wintergreen, and then the stone that's going to be on the other side is called Vaquero blend, and so
I see the brick there on the Coppell Deli, and
that was kind of my thought, is that I didn't want to forget that part of Old Town, that I felt like I needed to kind of blend it over and tie everything together.
Nicely done.
Chairman Haas, can I ask a quick one?
Fire away.
Mr. Adams, so given that's a fascinating, I love the brick, but are you going to color the mortar at all?
Well, I think in all honesty, it's best if we use a light mortar, and I think that the light mortar is actually going to kind of help make the tone of the brick just right. So I'd recommend on our joint for that, because we're trying to make it look a little bit crafted, that we'd probably use a finger for the joint instead of a tool, so that it was soft. And if you look at the brick naturally, it's got some effervescence? Am I saying that right? Or effervescence? The efflorescence on it. I think that the mortar will really kind of, if we get a mortar that works with that efflorescence, it will really stand out and make it look great.
So what would the color of the mortar be?
It's like it will probably be basically a white mortar. But with a probably, if I'm being probably a gray sand white mortar.
Okay.
So So it mostly white with just a little bit of gray to it. If I can pick it exactly.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
It won't look like effervescence. It'll look like that German schmear kind of stuff, right?
A little bit. I mean, not. I mean, I don't think we should slurry. So not quite a slurry, but like I said, so basically, if you finger rub the joint, that means that it smears just a little bit softly on there, and so not quite a slurry, but just so it feels crafted, I think is the right way to say it.
Since we got plenty of time tonight, not that there's going to be a lot of cars coming out of the alley, but maybe a couple of homes. What treatments are you going to do for car lights? Will there be any treatments on the side facing the east, just to?
So we try not to put any windows specifically there, just to make sure. I mean, it's a garage, so we're trying to minimize the light coming in from that side because we know that it could be a little bit louder at night, people leaving restaurants and stuff like that. So that's some of the landscape is kind of to create some privacy there, and then how we set up that drive. I think that the drive could help kind of create that, and we might maybe use some paint or a row of pavers or so just to kind of separate that and make that feel like it's its own space. I think that something like that would be great.
Any other discussion with the applicant? Okay. Public hearing is closed. Any final deliberation by the commission? Okay. With that, if there's a motion by the commission?
Chairman Haas, I would move that we approve PD 304H, the Nixon Pence lots 1 and 2 Block A, as proposed, subject to the staff conditions.
We have a motion by Commissioner Walker. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robinson. Okay. Ms. McGee, would you call the roll, please?
Chairman Haas, I think that was number 6 versus agenda number 5.
Uh-oh.
No. We're looking at item number 5 right now.
Correct. Well, I think what Jim just said was the lots 1 and 2. Did I mishear that, Jim?
No, I said lots 1 and 2. Excuse me, just a minute if I can pull that back up. But I thought I referenced both lots.
Well, we're talking about the zoning change request right now.
Correct. Right. So the item number 6 was it
is the plat.
It seems like it sounded like that was the plat versus number 5.
Okay, no, that's fine. Let me go ahead and clarify. So I'll move for item 5, PD 304H, Nixon Pence lots 1 and 2 Block A.
Okay, we have a clarification by Commissioner Walker. Second.
Second.
Okay, second, Commissioner Robinson. Ms. McGee, if you could call the roll, please.
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
And Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Cammie. Item 6 on the agenda is the Nixon Pence addition. This is the addition, lots 1 and 2 Block A, a plat, creating 2 residential lots on 0.442 acres of land located on the west side of South Coppell Road, approximately 175 feet south of West Bethel Road, at the request of property owner ANCH, being represented by Hennessy Engineering. Matt? Don't forget to unmute, please.
Okay, that concludes my presentation.
Yes, very good.
Okay, so this is the companion request, the Plan Development 304 Historic. Next slide, please. This plat's to allow for the creation of 2 lots and the formal dedication of, next slide, 30-foot right-of-way on South Coppell Road. This plat also shows the dedication of a 10-foot, next slide, utility easement abutting the property line on South Coppell Road. Private easements are also shown. Next slide. There's a 12-foot mutual access easement, and then the next slide is a private utility drainage and maintenance easement. These will be required to be dedicated prior to the plat being filed. The recording information of these easements will be required to be noted on the plat prior to its recordation. And staff recommends approval. Next slide. Subject to the following conditions. One, that detailed engineering review to take place with engineering permit submittal. For engineering review, submit site plan and plans for paving, grading, utilities, and erosion control. 2, submit a copy of the proposed private easements and note recording information on the plat prior to plat recordation. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Very good, Matt. Thank you. Any questions of staff by the commission? Okay. With Ms. Hennessy, is there anything you'd like to add to the presentation?
No.
You know, I never got your name and address for the record. If I could ask that.
It's Jorie, Jorie, and the last name is Brown, just like the color, and 1417 West Main in Carrollton.
Okay, very good. So you're not Pete Hennessy then? Okay.
I am not Pete Hennessy.
Okay, see, that's what I see on screen. Okay, very good. Thank you. Any questions of the applicant by the commission? Okay. Any final discussion by the commission, or is there a motion by the commission?
Chairman Hostel will make a motion. Move to approve Nixon Pence Edition lots 1 and 2 Block A, plat creating 2 residential lots subject to staff conditions.
Okay, very good. We have a motion by Commissioner Mortar. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Portman. Cammie, could you read the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
And Commissioner Ware.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Mary, is there any other staff news or anything as part of tonight's special hearing?
No, sir. The offices will be closed starting at noon on Wednesday for Thanksgiving. So we'll be closed Wednesday at noon, Thursday and Friday, and we'll reopen on Monday. So everyone have a great Thanksgiving.
Okay, thank you much. Happy Thanksgiving to all. The time is 7:03, and I will adjourn this meeting.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.